Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. It's the 21st day of April 2025 and welcome to our show today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Apparently the Pope has died, as well as Klaus Schwab has stepped down. Big changes on the horizon. And I'm going to go right to my first segment with Vicky Davis, because we've been talking about the things that happen behind the scenes, and both of us are pretty suspect about everything. I don't believe that there's any coincidences, not at all. And I know we're friends, and I know she feels the same way. There are no coincidences, but we're going to talk about all this and what led up to where we are right now. I think this is important in the ability to analyze and dissect things. Excuse me. And the second hour, I will be having Shelly Lake on. I made my TikTok video this morning, called her Shelly Lake. I know Shelly very well, and I'm very sorry that I mispronounced her name, but I clearly need more coffee, okay? So, but I'm here, endeavor to persevere. So Shelly Lake is going to be on with Jacky Eubanks. Jacky's from Michigan Fair Elections. Shelly represents the group of clerks, and she works with a lot of different election integrity groups. And we're going to be talking about ranked choice voting. I think we have to not dive into things because they're headline, but actually evaluate what the outcome of different proposed options for fixing our voting or election systems would be. But we've got a real problem here. At any rate, we're going to be talking about it, trying to fix the problem. So anyhow, morning, Vicky. How you doing?
Good morning. Fine, thank you. I just want to say one thing about ranked choice voting. You won't be able to audit the elections.
That's the biggest thing. That's what I see too, and that's a point because they can't audit the elections we have now, and there's a multitude of ways to cheat that type of a system when we can't even manage a simple one, a first past the poll system right now. I don't think it's a good idea. Just saying, it may be if we all lived in Disney World, but I think we need to question it. What say you?
I totally agree. I think our elections should go back to a single piece of paper that, for federal officials. State elections, they can take care of themselves. But for federal elections, a single piece of paper counted at the precinct before the ballots are ever moved anywhere.
Yeah, they can't even manage the thing we have right now. So I've got a real concern about this. I want to talk about this too, and funds, and then we'll get to a couple of the issues that we just briefly touched on this morning, because I think you're brilliant. But check this video out here, because this goes back to a big problem that I have. I mean, I have a huge problem with the money which is in our election systems, which is in everything. Politics, we don't have self-governance, okay? We just don't. We've already lost that because the entire election system is manipulated by money. And what I'm seeing that people are drawn to is this dragon's lair of treasures to amass these great big piles. And we have forgotten integrity. We have forgotten how to build our communities. It is so backwards right now. But I want you to listen to this guy. I think he's really interesting.
So we started looking at all political donations from the State Department. We looked at them for USAID. And what did we find? For State Department, it was like 94% went to the left. At USAID, it was like 98% that went to the left. National Endowment for Democracy, like 95% to the left. And then we started looking at all of the partners, the international NGOs, the contractors, and started looking at all of them, where the billions and billions are going. And 95, 98%. Even World Vision Catholic Relief Services, the vast majority, well over 90% of their political donations were going to the left. You look at the boards, they're all prominent people making very high salaries. So when you think about what's happened, the left, which was misusing USAID, and they're doing this across the federal government, misusing taxpayer money as a slush fund to finance their own people. And these are folks that can go out there, do the media, be the foot soldiers of the left, give money back. And so you had a one-sided uni-party apparatus here funding only one side of the political equation. And thank you, U.S. taxpayer.
Well, I think I want to add to this. It wasn't that they were funding, one side of the equation. They were literally funding, let's use the terminology correct here. They were literally funding the takeover from the inside of the United States of America.
No question about it. Yeah. And when you start looking at that, you start with the tech giants, the 10 or 15 or so tech company guys that basically took over our country. People don't understand how computer systems manage process. And when you look at a big corporation like, name one, AT&T, I see all the old ones have been taken over, but when you look at their huge corporations that are global entities, it's computer systems that provide all of the organization to make those things work. You couldn't do that without computer systems. Okay, like Walmart, for example. Walmart, huge operation. They have lots and lots of suppliers. Back in the early 2000s, there were articles about how Walmart was imposing a tyranny on their suppliers. You either meet the China price or you're out. We won't buy from you anymore. So what happened? A lot of the suppliers for Walmart, they ended up having to move over to China to meet the China price, which is what Walmart insisted on. And so, we lost a lot of corporations at that point just from Walmart's tyranny. But what allowed them to manage this entire supply chain of multiple corporations is computer systems. So a computer system is a tool, but it's also a weapon. And the tech giants have weaponized our country against us because it's profitable. They do not care about people. They don't care whether your baby gets new shoes or, whether you eat. They do not care. All they care about is money flowing in.
You got psychopaths that are sitting on the top of these corporations.
Absolutely.
This is a problem. We have really some sick puppies that are running the world here in a huge way, which brings me to the next issue. And I'm just going to say it. I've been pretty vocal of the fact that I've got a lot of issues with JD Vance. I think that we're being run around here a little bit by headlines. So just learned of the passing of Pope Francis. Oh my gosh, my heart goes out to millions of Christians all over the world who love him. That's great. He's with a guy that's on his deathbed, and he said he just learned of this. I was happy to see him yesterday, the day before he died. But I'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. May God rest his soul. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not buying any of this. And I can't tell you the exact answer of what's going on here, but there's some things that really don't set well with me. How in the world did he go and visit with a pope the day before he died? First of all. Second of all, I don't know. I kind of said it earlier, and I decided I better soften the blow a little bit. But this is about as absurd as watching a murder mystery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coincidences like this, I don't believe just happen.
No.
I think they are made to happen. Nice way to say it.
So he shows up the day before the Pope dies. And coincidentally, the same day he dies, the same day that Rome was born on 1753 BC. And I'm supposed to believe any of this bullshit. I don't.
Mhm.
Okay. And then going back to J.D. Vance, I got to tell you, the people that are around President Trump, his appointments and such, I think he's got a couple of good ones in there. But by and large, I think that there's a lot of people in there who follow Sun Tzu, keep your enemies closer.
Well, you know what's interesting to me is that his administration started off good, but then he started bringing up all of these ideas that were presented early in the 2000s. You know, like the voter ID card and which I'm ambiguous about. We do need to control our elections, but the real ID, that is a new world order ID. That is a global ID, which I'm not enthusiastic about. But a lot of the promises that Trump made, he's going back on. And that is exactly the same thing he did in 2016.
How so?
Well, one of those promises is that he promised to get us out of NAFTA. And because he promised to get us out of NAFTA, I was all in for him, because that is the one thing that we need to do to start breaking up these cartels of nations, the associations of nations that are creating a tyranny for us, for all of us, like tyranny of the Americas, the North American Union and so forth. Before the early 2000s, very, very few people knew about the plan to create a hemispheric association of the Americas. And I include myself in that. I didn't know about that.
Oh, there's so much we haven't known over the years. And it's sort of like this whole thing is like, I'm going to do a Shrek reference. It's like layers. It's like peeling up layers of the onion, and the whole thing stinks.
Yes. And so, and that when I found out about that, I just dove into that heads down. And building the Association of Nations is one thing that the City of London has been working on. Gosh, I don't know, because I don't know for how many centuries, because of they were a maritime empire. And one of the countries where they really got a foothold and took over was India. And they colonized countries all over the world. And then what did they do? They associated them under the Commonwealth of Nations. Do you remember when somebody asked Trump about rejoining the Commonwealth of Nations?
No, I
And
don't.
he said, that sounds like a good idea. But it's these cartels of people that are cartels of businesses and state governments, nation state governments, that are running the world along with their tech bros, So,
Well, look at the public-private partnerships and how they're trying to take over land. They're literally competing with businesses.
yes. Well, there was a plan for post-World War II Germany, and it was conceived by Stalin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and I don't know, a British representative, foreign secretary. But at Potsdam, and I can't give you the year, but it was the Yalta Conference, they decided to turn Germany into a big pasture, just completely destroy Germany, so that they could never rise again. And Herbert, I guess it was Truman or Herbert Hoover went over to Germany to study what the impact would be of doing that to Germany. And he came back with a report saying that about 25 million people would have to die to do that. And so the U.S. decided not to participate in the Morgenthau Plan, and rather to, they conceived the Marshall Plan. And so what the Marshall Plan did was to rebuild industrial Germany, rather than murder all those people just through starvation or whatever. So, and the Morgenthau Plan, they dropped the Morgenthau Plan, but I, honest to God, believe that what's happened to our country is that they turned the Morgenthau Plan around on us. And I wrote an article called "The Ghost of Morgenthau Haunts Our House," where I went through and looked at each one of the elements in the Morgenthau Plan. And I swear that's what they've done to us: deindustrialize, demilitarize, and destroy manufacturing, and came up with the idea that our country could survive on services. Well, services are, not everybody can be involved in services. So they built an economy that could only work for a small percentage of the population. And they basically told everybody else, go go figure out your own way to live in this world. So, and that's what happened to the people in the Rust Belt. They were basically just thrown to the wolves. And so that's where we are in this economy.
So Denise and Lab, good morning to all of you guys out there who are posting. Denise said tech companies set the groundwork with cell phones, tablets, internet, social media. Walmart stole Kmart's business model and shut them down. It involved computer systems for distribution and logistics. J.D. Vance is Peter Thiel's little puppet. Ypsilanti blog, subsidized housing, claiming low income. The rent is $1,500 plus and would eat up an entire salary of low income person. Scam, big developers. Oh, yeah. We can get into that in a big way. Al Richards said the Pope represents serpent seed. They have a mass to Lucifer. They have a room beneath the Vatican for Lucifer, the worship of the Queen of Heaven. 10 kingdoms, city-state like D.C., rewinding the Agenda 21. Soon to come 15-minute cities. Well, I've got a lot of questions on it, so it depends on who you believe is in charge right now.
Well, yeah, it does. And I don't believe it's Donald Trump. I think it is the tech gurus and the defense contractors. There was a report produced by some group I never heard of, but they're one of the groups that do these very interesting brief history segments. And in the 1990s, after the Cold War ended, apparently the tech companies, or not tech companies, the defense contractors were allowed to consolidate into 5 large corporations. And one of those is Lockheed. And I do think I think they are in charge, actually. And Lockheed, of course, has they all have technology sides to them, where they are consultants and builders and designers for these big tech systems. So I'll see if I can find that link and send it to you so that you can, post it or tweet it out, because it's really a good report.
Can you put a link in the private chat for what you were talking about?
With the Morgenthau plan? Yeah,
Yes, please.
I was just getting it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. So here, I'll put a couple of these things up this morning, which, there you go. Pope died on Rome's birthday.
Yeah, sure, I believe that.
Yeah. This is like, sure, this is what's really going on here, guys. Can we laugh now, or do we laugh later, or do we cry? You know, it's like, no, not buying it. Sorry. Hopefully nobody else took their stupid pills this morning. Just drink a little more coffee and it'll be fine. It'll go away. So, and there you go. So this is another thing that I have a problem with. Does that not look like a freaking cobra's head? It looks like a snake to me. How could this not be any more plain to people than Houston? We have a problem.
Yeah, I can't look at what you're showing right now because I'm trying to get to the bottom of my list of open links. But
well, there's
okay,
a picture,
here we are.
and it shows of the Vatican.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh my God,
it's like there, and then that little sculpture in the background here. That thing is like crazy. Talk about crazy. Why would you have something in a church like that? It's nuts. And then, sorry, the Pope will be having a terrible day in May. Those who back him will be pushed into the light. Dark to Light Truths Q post from 4/3/2018, 997, which I think is really interesting.
Good morning, Brandenburg News Network.
Let's see. There's my I've been trying to do TikTok videos in the morning to just kind of like, outline what we're going to talk about a little bit. But it's actually, the videos actually go pretty well for me and getting information out. I just thought that's kind of interesting. So
yeah, that's really the best way to reach people if you can do that.
It's video. And so I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I can't say I'm the best at anything, but one thing I've got is stubborn resolve. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, "You are a very stubborn person." And I'm like, "You think?"
Well, I don't know.
You're quick. You're quick.
I think I got you beat. I've been working on this for over 20 years now.
Oh my goodness.
Once I got started, it's like I can't quit. I won't quit until these people see their demise, or I see mine, one or the other.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to do something different, which brings me.
So you're an American defense contractor in the late 90s.
Okay, this is going to bring me back to a candidate that I'm going to tell you. The political parties are running the candidates. Yes. I can tell you that for sure. So there is someone that I believe the Republican Party is going to run. I think they're going to try to run John James as their chosen candidate that we may vote for. Okay, I really think that's what's going to happen here. However, I have some really big questions about this, including his ties to the military-industrial complex and a sharp uptick in profits for his company, as well as the company spreading its sphere of influence to multiple states, which brings me back to the Keiretsu you were talking about last week. I'm digging into this a little bit. I'm having a problem with this because I know that there's some connections with a person who is trying to build a military industrial complex on the east side of the state. So all I can say is, please think closely when you hear the words that people want to drag us into. The heroes that they've set up for us, you got to question that. Look at what they actually do, not the titles, not their pedigree, not any of that stuff. See what they do, what they've done. Look for patterns. Patterns will tell you everything you need to know. It's really disturbing to me. Yeah. I'm just going to say, it's just like J.D. Vance. I've said it before. I've never shaken a more freaking girly hand in my life. Really bothered me. Okay, let's see.
1980s. You've been making good money for years selling weapons and equipment to the U.S. military. World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and of course the Cold War were all very good for business. But lately, things have been quiet. The Cold War had already peaked, which left you without any big orders for all your fancy bombs and planes. So somehow you needed to find a way to boost your profits. But then something magical happens out of the blue. The Pentagon and Congress wanted to make producing defense equipment easier, so they did something unexpected. They called for the defense industry to merge, to go from hundreds of small contractors to just a few industry giants.
There you go.
See,
There's
typically,
the
the government wants to break
centralization
up
right there.
monopolies. Standard
There's the centralization right there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you're talking about Standard Oil. That's the Bush Mafia.
Oil, American tobacco, and even AT&T's monopolies have been hunted down and destroyed. But here was the same government demanding that you monopolize possibly the worst industry to have a monopoly in.
They were convinced that they could rely on the companies to do what was in the best interest of the warfighters and the taxpayers.
Wah, there's a big thumbs down to that. No way. Let's see. In Michigan, worked at Raytheon, RWD, and General Physics as a consultant. All these companies are intertwined. Yeah, they're all intertwined. When you look at how they work, and we go back to the Keiretsu, they're controlling the supply chains. This is horrible. Not only that, you know what they've done to capture our land? They're tied in with the developers. The developers are given contracts, no bid contracts. They're getting rubber stamped to do any of their development that they want to do. And then we're not questioning where these contracts are going to through these companies.
Well, and the contractors, of course, are dependent on the banks. And apparently it's really the banks that are the leaders of the Keiretsus, because they have access to the money.
Well, I would like to believe right now, and I kind of do believe that there's some very good people behind President Trump, and that they're using the weapons of war against the bad guys, which they created to destroy us. I think there's more at play there. It sure looks like it's bad from the outside. I'm going to tell you that. There's some things that are incredible. Let's see how Al says. Malachi prophecy, last pope. Coffee will help that. Legal contract is a deal with the devil. I like Al. Al, you're a cool person. And yes, I have a sign that is still standing right now. So just in case you're curious.
Okay, well, let me tell you one thing about one of those big five, Lockheed, and they worked with the Chinese over in Asia to develop a model ports system. Now, modern ports, it's all automated. You know, when they pull into when a big ship pulls into the dock, it's those huge smart cranes, if you want to call them that unload the ships and they have to make sure that the trains are there to receive it's all a coordinated action. And Lockheed worked with the Chinese to develop that model port system. Okay, now hold that thought for a second. One of the major economic development efforts of the world governing system is roads and transportation, all transportation, airlines, shipping, roads, all forms of transportation to connect nation states together, right? And so in the 1990 when George Herbert Walker Bush announced the plan for a new transportation system for the United States. Well, that new transportation system, the plan was for full automation. And then in 1995, Vicente Fox announced his economic development plan was 2 ports in southern Mexico. And those 2 ports connect to 5 inland ports coming up into the United States to Kansas City. And if you've ever looked at the Kansas City Smart Port, it's part of this entire global system of transportation for commerce.
I have not looked into that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, that's what, when you see the global transportation system, then you understand what globalization is about.
It's all the supply lines, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is. And
Contracts.
yeah, that's where Walmart got started, because when you pick up a can of soup off of a Walmart shelf and you check out with it, it generates an update to the inventory, and depending on what their levels are for inventory, it will generate an order to the warehouse. It's all automated. And you know what? Interestingly enough, my first job as a computer programmer was for a company that was building a laser scan system for this very process. It's almost like I was born to do this, you know,
Wow.
because and that's how I knew about these grocery store laser scan systems. And of course, back in the day when I was learning about it, the physicists and engineers were actually doing the development on that system. And one of the guys was actually retrofitting a floppy disk for loading the operating system and the operating system and the application systems into the microprocessor.
Wow. To your question, Al, yes, the Jesus lives here sign. So, yeah, this is it's crazy. I got to show you something that I saw yesterday. This is disturbing because I see patterns, okay? That's what I look for. I don't look for words. I don't listen to headlines. I absolutely don't listen to any of the politicians because they're all lying, okay? Every one of them is still lying. I was in the store last night and I saw this sign, so I took a picture of it. Limit 2 per customer. Does this not look like what was going on in Russia years ago? They're limiting our food. This is all about the destruction of our food supply.
Absolutely, no question about it.
They
Because
are planning to kill us through destroying the food supply.
it's supply chain warfare.
It is.
And with our food, what they did, they allowed a cartel to form, probably again led by Walmart, right? And there's a piece of legislation. I need to go back and look at it. It's called the Food Modernization Act, I think of 2006. But the Michael Levitt, he had been he was I can't remember if he was Secretary of Agriculture, but I've got stories on him. But he's the one that allowed these food corporations to form the cartel, the Corretson. Okay, now what supply chain warfare is, somebody analyzes the entire supply chain for a process, and they figure out what is the one essential part or process that if you can't do that one essential process, your whole supply chain is garbage. Now they did that with GM, and they found out that it was the steering column on GM cars that was the one essential piece of equipment that they could not do without. And so Delphi, you living in Michigan, you should probably know this. Delphi was a manufacturer for the car companies.
Yep.
You know, for these smaller parts. But Delphi then moved offshore. They moved Delphi offshore. So if they can hold control that one essential component, in a supply chain. Doesn't matter how many suppliers you have. If you don't have that one essential one, you're dead in the water. Okay. In the United States, the Bureau of Economic Analysis actually waged economic warfare on Hitler in World War II. That's the way they defeated Germany. Supply chain warfare.
Well, it's the economics. I mean, it's the corporatocracy that we have going on right now, which is being run by psychopaths. I mean, I'm going to go back to that again. And they look like us, but they're not like us. They don't think like we do, who care about our families. All they want is to have their little dragon's lair of treasure to jump on top of. And this brings me to another thing that I am very disturbed about. I'm very, very disturbed about. And the Republican Party, honestly, is the one that's pushing this narrative. Okay.
Yes.
They're absolutely pushing this wealth, future wealth. You know what? Have they accomplished it yet? How many years have they been in control?
Well, they have for themselves. They have accomplished it for themselves. I saw there is a website, Open Secrets, I believe. But if you go look up for a member of Congress, see how much money he had going into Congress, how much he has now. You know, people like Nancy Pelosi and, you know, my senator, they had no money going in, and now they're multimillionaires.
And you know what? I'm watching people around me even who are so obsessed with all of this money stuff going on that it is honestly, it seems to me like it is kind of like shoving God off to the side. It's all about the dragon's treasure. And it's really disturbing to me.
You remember that movie, Treasure of the Sierra Madres, with Humphrey Bogart?
This is where
that's right. You don't watch
pop culture stuff with me because I watch maybe 2 movies a year. I don't watch TV. I just don't, you know.
Well, this was a movie in the 1940s, I believe. But it's about a guy who went prospecting in the I think it was Mexican or New Mexican desert, looking for gold, and he found the gold, but his 2 partners died, so he was there by himself with all this gold, and so what it did, it made him insane. It's like a monkey that sticks his hand in the jar, goes in easy, but he grabs what's at the bottom of the jar. When his hand makes a fist, he can't pull it out.
Oh, that's a great example.
And so he won't let go of what his treasure was that he got. And so there you go. He won't let it go. And so.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here today, Al. I see you out there, and have a great day. And Jesus lives here. So he gave me a sign that says Jesus lives here when I was running for governor before 22, and it's still there. I've got it right there outside my barn, and I'm proudly displayed. So thank you so much for that great gift. So that's been a few years, and it still stands. So that's kind of a fun little factoid there. Let's see. Microsoft SQL Server and Amazon Redshift. No SQL solutions. Apache, Cassandra, and Amazon Dynamics DB are also powerful choices. Just think, Microsoft owns SQL Server, largest in the country, perhaps world, and is used by large corporations. Okay, guys, this is where we have to really think outside of the box. So when they started doing this two-step authentication crap, and we were using QuickBooks, which I hate QuickBooks. I hate it with a passion. So I started talking to people in programming and said, we're just not doing any of this nonsense. We need to build our own system and completely be disassociated, disconnected from this. And that's what we've done. We have literally built a system. We've got it in use, and has been extensively tested on one of our companies. It works fantastically. It's an amazing amount of control. But you know what? This is where they're really screwed. This is where the people in corporate America that are trying to steal our nation are screwed, because if you get a few really determined people who are like, not as long as I'm alive will this go on, and will I sit there and watch them attack the United States through these means of capturing our data. The problem with QuickBooks is that once you get your information in there, it is very, very hard, very difficult to export it or to move it to another system.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that over the years in all kinds of software. It's about your information capture. So guess what? As they continue to sell this and move this into more control and centralization, the problem is that you are being caught in a trap, just like pigs in a pen. Works exactly the same way. Oh, they keep giving you these little nuggets that sound, man, this is great. Look how easy this works. Oh man, look how easy this works. As they bring one side of the fence in, another side, you're feeding off the bait they're giving you, another side, a half of a side. And as soon as you get in there entirely, they're going to slap that gate shut on you and you aren't getting out.
Mm-hmm.
But they make it super easy for people. They make it super easy for people to have an easy way to attack problems as bait. But we have to get way past that and look at what's the end game here. So I got to tell you, I'm going to sell this product at some point in time. Yeah, because I think that everything needs to be decentralized. I think people need to be in control of their own data. I think they should be able to leave if they're dissatisfied with whatever it is and have another option, and have all the money they have put into this and the trust be able to go with them. Uh-huh. And I believe in absolute transparency and decentralization of everything. And I think it needs to be in the contract.
I agree with you. I mean, that's the way it used to be in the software business, is that, for most companies, they had custom software. But of course, IBM always had packages for sale, packages of software for processes with seemingly common processes. But even like libraries, you would think, well, that's a standard process. But it actually isn't when you buy the software from a company like IBM.
Right.
Everything is parameter driven. The first COBOL system I worked on was a parameter driven system for hospitals. And I worked on a hospital discharge information system. But interestingly enough, guess who wrote the original software? Lockheed.
Oh, there you go. Now, here's a point with critical thinking that we really need to go down. I'm working on my new website, which is just about research as well as telling the truth. Getting people to think about things, maybe learning some better communication skills, because the United States of America sucks right now. Everybody wants to go right straight to fight instead of talking to people with opinions we disagree with. I never agree with anyone 100%, ever. And I'm always sitting back going, well, this is something to look into. But I let people talk, right? Uh-huh. I think we're going to have to get into this and put information forward on how to critically think. How do you critically think when you're being inundated with absolute bullshit every day, which is part of predictive programming? Oh no, Donna just said a swears, Well, sorry, it's the way it is. At least I'm honest,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's if you don't do critical thinking, if you just take everything you hear from the spokesperson you like,
yes,
you're totally in the dark. You are lost. You've got to question everything, because my experience has been that even the people that we think are on our side aren't. But you've got to keep listening to them. You got to keep thinking about what they're saying. You've got to fit it into your understanding of how the world works. And does it fit? And chances are, at some point or another, they're going to say something that will tip you off.
Yes, that is a point that is going to be one of the most critical ones going forward. So, in the fact, and it truly is a fact, our nation is completely apart from God right now. It's coming back. I'll give you that. I do believe that it's coming back to a good place, but it has been in a bad place. Where you really see the deficits is in the political landscape. It is completely and totally based on idolatry.
Well, you know what? I mean, all you have to do is look at our southern border. Our governments, they signed the NAFTA agreement. They signed the WTO. George W. Bush signed the Security and Prosperity Partnership. And what they're doing is building an international governing system over the top of the Americas, free trade area of the Americas. You ever hear anybody talk about that? No, you do not. And if you bring it up, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist. You know, I spent the first 10 years of my research listening to how we were conspiracy theorists, but when they can no longer deny it, then they say, oh yeah, we are doing that actually.
Right, and they gaslight you into believing that it's all okay. So I have been an unapologetic supporter of President Trump because in the last election, the 2020 election was a sham. There was nothing honest about that. So I have to start questioning that, going, okay, what are my alternatives? First of all, I supported him because his rights were violated. And as an American, I believe that we have to stand with people based on the law, not on a popularity contest. Okay. But I like what he's done. And I look at it, go, there's more to this than what meets the eye. On the surface, like, I wouldn't have picked J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance he's a great spokesperson, but there's too many connections to Palantir and Peter Thiel and some other. You don't make $1 billion in this system. Donna Brandenburg is not a billionaire, though they lied through their ever-living teeth on this with a gateway pundit. So you got to go back and say, well, if they lied here, what else are they lying about? You have to make the patterns and the connections and question everything, right? So I'm just waiting and watching, because my whole thing is to follow God, no matter who's sitting where. It's our responsibility to teach, to bring it forward, and to ask those questions and expect from our public functionaries who we have hired to do a job to either make it right or explain themselves. We're not getting any explanations on J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance shows up the day before the Pope dies magically. How do you calculate those kind of odds? And I'm like, Mr. I'm in charge of a global health network. So let's go down. I'm going to get some questions here that we can do. Number one, we need to question the source. Who's the origin of the information? Is it reliable, biased, or incomplete? How do we know who's given information to President Trump? All we can look at, all we can look at is it the good guys or the bad guys? Do the good guys have a strategy that we're not yet apprised of? I kind of think so, because you see a lot more people who are speaking out against things dead. And, but I don't, but we have to watch for their patterns and what they're doing, and get past the hero worship. I love President Trump. I love everything that that he's done so far, except for I really wanted to see arrests. Okay. I really want to see these people absolutely upended. However, I'm patient and I'm watching. Okay. Breaking it down, what's the core claim of the problem? Strip away the fluff to focus on key elements. There's so much noise going on out there. People are running to whatever the new noise is. It's like they've got this going all the time to keep people watching, and people can't focus on what's important, like our election integrity. And I'm not talking about some of the sham election stuff out there. There's some really good people that are doing some good stuff, but it's boring for most people. It's not the flashy, shiny. So, hey, we got fireflies going off everywhere, and we're not focusing. They're keeping us in chaos. Checking assumptions. Are there unstated beliefs or biases shaping the argument? Test those. Seeking evidence. What data or reasoning supports the claim? I look for primary sources of raw information. You do the same thing. Often digging into web results or X posts or real-time perspectives, but even those you have to question. You have to question, who are they working for? Are they making money off of their claims? What is the supply chain connections? Do people have spikes in their personal value? Are people being attacked? The ones that they attack, there's a reason why they're attacking them. They hold the reins to all of the mainstream media. They still hold the reins to that yet. We haven't gotten off of that yet. They just shifted a lot of this to the alternate media, which is being funded, for gosh sakes, by USAID. 5,000 of them fell in that, right?
Yeah.
So consider the alternatives. What other explanations or viewpoints exist? Explore opposing angles to avoid tunnel vision. So you came out and you were saying you personally do not like President Trump. You don't like the people who stand. And you look at this as, let's look at the structure. I will absolutely honor your perspective on this, because this is how we have civil discourse. We talk to people we disagree with on points. And you and I are on the opposite side of several things. We agree with more than we disagree on, but we're still friends and we still talk things out. And I love it, because I love to consider alternative viewpoints of what I kind of like hold, because I don't want to get caught in the bias trap.
Mm-hmm.
Reasoning through, weigh the evidence logically, avoiding emotional sway, and aim for clarity over certainty. This is where I see people falling into the trap constantly. They have their popularity contests going on. They will not speak out against somebody who's a friend or disagree with them, because, oh my goodness, I might get criticized or ostracized. This person may never talk to me again. So they sell out their integrity, what they believe or what they see, to protect the social constructs and the people around them, because they will not break from the sheeple mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying what I see, guys.
Yeah.
And I refuse to just say something to fall in with a club, just like what I've said about the Republican Party. Republican Party probably has some problems with me, because I literally will call them out for what I see that's wrong. They can tell me everything they want to about fixing things and doing the right thing, but you go back through time, this has been going on for decades. The Democrat Party is an in-your-face chip shot. The Republican Party hides their complicity in the crimes.
You're absolutely right about that.
Controlled opposition.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Both parties are controlled.
Absolutely.
At this point. And they tell you what you want to hear. They don't tell you what you need to hear. And so, and you know, it's like Trump did in his first term. He said he would get us out of NAFTA. He didn't do it. And I will never forgive him for that. Because the NAFTA agreement was the breach in our borders, the North American Free Trade Area. I mean, that's totally in your face. That's why they never say it straight out. North American Free Trade Area. Free Trade Area is the end of your country. You know, when you have commerce that becomes more important than people living there, more important than your culture, your history, your norms, it turns your country into nothing but a commercial territory.
Right. And then look at the mindset of sitting on the dragon treasure that everybody's looking at. They're looking at these big players that have this pile of gold. You think you're going to get any of it? These people are proving out that they're thieves, and they use the system in order to self-enrich. Why would we continue to put these in? I'd rather vote for an honest pauper who is in there that's ready to fight for the people than those people that have a voice, the ones that are the unsung heroes who just keep working without recognition. Like, for example, Jacky Eubanks and Shelly Lake, who are going to be on next. They don't stand there and fall in necessarily with this. They're and yourself. You're out there working, and you just keep going for decades. You know?
Yeah.
It's like I really want to stand with people that are just normal people, not the superstars. I get criticized by this a lot, but you know what? I've got like everybody's contacts. It's amazing. And who are my favorite people to talk to? My friends, such as you, such as Jacky, such as Shelly, the people that aren't sitting here to sit on a dragon's treasure of gold, the golden age, the gold. Ooh, let's look at the hypnosis that's going on here and the trap that's being laid. It's a trap. So
Absolutely.
We're going to have to put God first. We are going to have to put God first. We are going to have to stand on our ideals and our morals. We are going to have to stop constantly going after the material world and go after something greater, the sense of purpose, the sense of standing with those we love. Because I'm going to tell you what, I've been poor as a church mouse. I've made a lot of money. I've had success in different areas. I'm going to tell you what, if you think that money's going to make you happy, I got a lot of news for you. Some of the most miserable people I have ever met in my life have lost everything they truly care about. Their children, their grandchildren. I met one of the richest guys in the entire world up in North Dakota. He owns 333 million acres, and he came upon it by interesting means. His grandson committed suicide at 14.
Mm-hmm.
The families are being destroyed over money. Our children's bodies are being destroyed by people like the psychopath Pritzker, who has the trans clinics that made money by mutilation of children and pushing an agenda. We are going to have to get off this bias way of looking at things and saying, oh, I got to follow these guys because they got a great headline. Well, maybe so. People voted for Biden, maybe, but they cheated their ever-living behinds off, which is what Shelly and Jacky are going to be helping to talk about and expose. However, who would possibly believe that a guy that's been in office since the dinosaurs walked the planet is going to change anything? Who is going to believe that the Republican Party, going back to the Bush crime family, is going to change anything? Oh, we're going to look at all the money that's pouring in. Guess where it's coming from? The corporatocracy and the military-industrial
complex.
Cartel.
Yeah.
What's that? John James. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's look at this, guys. John James. And let's look at what they're trying to build on the other side of the state. Please, dear God, tell me you're smarter than this out there. You know what? And I know the people that watch my channel are generally a little more have advanced thinking skills. I'll just put it out there because you wouldn't stay with me if you didn't. Because people would say, oh, listen to Brandenburg. She's going off on some tangent again as we go run right into the seats to vote for the people that they're telling us to vote for. It is as absurd as J.D. Vance showing up at the Pope's the day before he dies. Oh, no, he was there the day before the Pope dies. What a coincidence this is.
What a miracle.
It's a miracle. It's amazing. I don't know. Well, my friend, thank you for being on today. I love you absolutely. And I'll post those links that you put in the private chat so that we can talk about this corporatocracy, the Karetsu that's going on. The programming is still going on. I don't care if President Trump is in office. Yeah. This is going to rely on us getting past the popularity contest and looking at things for real. Who knows if he's got people next to him that are holding a gun to his head? We have to look at the law, the process. what we actually have to do to take this nation back. And if he's in trouble, it's up to us to stand up for good people who are being either misled or threatened. The entire system is based on blackmail, deception, and it's up to us to question this and stand together as one large, happy American family that says this whole system is complete crap from top to bottom. And we're going to have to address it on every single level. So, and with that said, I'm going to go to a quick break right now, and I will be back. But thank you, Vicky, for being on. You guys follow her on the Technocratic Tyranny. She's got, I've never seen so much good information in one place as I have with what Vicky has assembled. And she's a hero. You're a hero in my book. I love you to pieces, and we'll see you next Monday. Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Quick break. I'll be right back. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and welcome to our show today. I have some very important people that are coming on here today who have been working behind the scenes as the heroes that we know they are in order to work towards Michigan free and fair elections. So I got to meet Jacky Eubanks years ago, and she was out there boss level patriot. I'm going to tell you what, she is just poking the bear out there, winning the truth through her actions. Okay. Not just talking, but her actual actions. And Shelly Lake, and I want to welcome these wonderful ladies on today. How are you guys doing today?
Phenomenal. Happy Easter, by the way. I'm very, very grateful that it's the Easter season now and we get to share in the joy of the resurrection of the Lord.
Yes, I agree with
Amen,
that.
Jacky.
That's the biggest thing, turning back to God and understanding exactly what has been transpiring before our eyes. Last week, I went through the timeline of Jesus's week, the crucifixion and such. And it's even our holidays are off a little bit. If you actually take all the information together, there's some things that we have to question there to fulfill both the Jewish perspective, the scripture, and take it as a whole. So I'll have to send you that information, because once again, back to question everything. Let's not be stupid sheep and actually go into. So here we go. You've got a video here on rank choice voting. Would you like me to pull that up? And welcome to the show today. Glad to have you on. This is going to be a start of a beautiful thing to bring Michigan elections forward. And I'm very proud to stand with you and help you have a voice, because we're all being censored.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the video I made, please share it if you can. It's about 4 minutes, and it explains how ranked choice voting works, which is the new left-wing scheme to rig our elections. So we're calling it rigged choice voting, and you'll understand what I mean if the video is able to be pulled up. And if not, I can always explain it too.
I can pull this up. So what's got me? What has got me? Let's see if I can. What in the world did you do? YouTube just kind of like
they are hitting it hard, Donna. Rank my vote.
Wow, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Let me try this again. We'll see if we can make this work. So it just re-upped a video that I pulled up later. Let's see what happens here. See if I can get it to go past this. All right, I got it. So would you like me to play that first?
I think that would give context to what we're talking about for sure.
Definitely.
So here you go, guys. Here's a question I have. So the gerrymandering that went with the precinct restructuring that went on, as well as all the other efforts that they've done, how are we going to trust them? There is a pattern of deceptiveness. Axe My Tax is another one, and I can tell you exactly what's behind Axe My Tax. The globalists are trying to own our land, so why wouldn't they want to shift away from property taxes and put it back on us? And all those people that are pushing Axe My Tax, I'm going to tell you what, this is like political operatives for dummies 101. And I can tell you more about that too, but this really needs to be questioned. So let's play this and see. I want to see your video.
Okay, hi everyone. I just wanted to demonstrate how a mock ranked choice voting election could work so that you can simulate and demonstrate what happens in a ranked choice voting election.
Can you hear
at
this?
Your chapter launch party.
Yes.
So I've printed out 10 ballots. As you can see, the candidates are blue, purple, green, and red. And I'm going to show you how going through the ballots, you can tally up who the winner is of the race, the winner, using the ranked choice voting method. So we'll start with just looking at the first choice column and putting a tally next to each candidate based on first choice. So on this ballot, the first choice is red. On this ballot, the first choice is blue. This one's red. This one's green. This one's red. This one's blue. This one's green. This one's blue. This one's purple. And I think that should be, nope, one more, blue. Okay. So we have here 10 total votes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 total votes were cast. But as you can see, no one has reached a 50% or greater threshold. So even if blue had 5 votes, it still would not win because it did not cross the 50% threshold. You have to have 50 plus 1. So we're going to look at this and go, okay, the bottom loser is getting eliminated. Now we go into round 2 of voting. So we need to identify the person whose ballot was marked purple as number 1. Okay, so we'll go back. I have to shuffle back through. And here's purple as number 1. Their number 2 choice was red. Okay, so we've just retallied the votes. We've gone through round 2. We now have a tie, and still no one has cracked 50 plus 1%. So as you'll notice, we had a clear winner in the first round, which was blue, but now blue and red are tied. So we eliminate green because green is the bottom choice, and we have to identify the 2 ballots who picked green as first. So now I have to shuffle back through and find the ballots who had green as their first choice and retally whatever their second choice was. So here's green. Somebody voted green, and then they put red as their second choice. So we'll take this one, and we'll move it here. So now red has 5, but we got to identify the other green vote. And the other person who voted green voted blue as their second choice. So once again, we have a tie. So now how do you possibly do this? Because you have a tie. Now this is a unique example of how things could go terribly, terribly wrong, and you literally cannot determine a winner based on how ranked choice voting works. This is where a judge would then have to decide. Otherwise, you would need to conduct a totally new election in order to determine a winner because nobody's cracked the 50% plus 1 mark. And I just want to add one last thing. Let's say both people who voted for green had red as their second choice. So let's say both of those, we'll start from scratch and say that was actually allocated. So this second one actually was second choice red. So then this means red would crack the 50 plus 1%, and red would be declared the winner, even though blue had actually gotten the most total first choice votes. So that's how a loser becomes a winner in ranked choice voting race.
Hey, that's a great video. I love it.
So, but I will say one thing, Donna, that it has gone to the judge, as Jacky explained. They draw straws too, so I'm not sure what determines if it's going to go to the judge or if it's going to be a draw the straw.
There have been
it's kinda
cases where, yeah, the judge had to determine it because somebody who was declared the loser ended up possibly actually winning, because you're relying entirely on the tabulator, which we already have questions as to whether the tabulators accurately calculate the results of the election. You have to completely rely on the fact that the tabulator machine is tallying the votes correctly through these multiple rounds of elimination and recalculation.
Well, the really disturbing thing is they can't even run a first past the poll election, honestly. So how could they possibly run something that has this many layers to it when they can't even run? It's like, why do we keep complicating things?
Right. Well, oh, sorry, Jacky, go ahead.
No, I know Shelly's been to some of the town halls. Their talking points are it makes voting kind again. They say that because you rank your candidates, no matter who wins, you chose whoever was the winner because you are expected to at least give a ranking to all of the candidates. So that's the way they kind of pitch it to make it sound like it's a good idea, that it's more fair because people are not locked in a competition to beat one another out. You can run as coalitions and teams, vote me for first choice, vote the other person for second choice. But I think that this is just a Trojan horse to make our election so complicated that the establishment will always be able to win, because they'll just be able to leverage one party's preferences over the grassroots majority of the other. And then that's how you get rhinos in office like Lisa Murkowski, for example.
So, Donna, I will say, so it's a group called Rank My Vote, MI, that's putting on these town halls. There are Memorial Day coming up. They are at truck stops everywhere. They're doing virtual 101 classes. So on their website, and I did go to a couple of their presentations, they work with the League of Women Voters, Fair Vote. I think it's fairvote.org. So curious, they say the benefits, it increases the voters' options, enhances the voters' power, that there are representative outcomes. It discourages negative campaigning because people are not going to want to upset voters in case they get to be their second choice. And here's the big thing I found in the town halls I went to. It's very racial based. We actually, one lady turned around and said, well, that's because you're white privilege. Because we questioned one of their pie charts and asked about the source. They had no source. And it was saying that they lower the barrier to entry for women and candidates of color, and that voters of color were better represented through ranked choice voting, but they had no source for this. And less confrontational politics. No coffee this morning. That's fun.
Yeah, that's where I started out this morning too. I'm like, it's Monday. Sometimes Mondays are a hard go, and especially after a long holiday weekend.
Well, and I wanted to let you know too, so I represent many organizations, but I asked Jacky to come today as a representative for Michigan Fair Elections. And through them, we are just fighting this hard, putting together a statewide plan of attack to let people know the truth about ranked choice voting and how bad it is. When I asked the gentleman what they anticipate, because they're trying to get this on the ballot for next year as a constitutional amendment. So I said, what will be the cost? Because they're going to ask for funding from the government to educate, train clerks, voters. They will need funding for software rewrites for the tabulators. He said the tabulators, all three companies are already set up to do ranked choice voting. And that scares the heck out of me. I don't trust Dominion as it is. And now to go in and do something as complicated as the great video that Jacky showed, they have no idea the cost. They're going to get it pushed through first and then figure out the cost.
Yeah, why don't we address this whole electronic voting system first before we complicate it with another thing that they can't manage? It seems like they just keep piling it on and on and on to the point that this beast system we have right now is almost unsinkable, which is unfortunate because they're at the helm.
Right.
The problem with the electronic voting systems, as we already know, they're extremely insecure. They are hooked up to the internet. It is known that the machines have 4G or 5G LTE wireless chips in them that are contracted through telecommunication services like Verizon and like AT&T. And so we already know that it is easy to hack these machines. And so now you're asking them to do these very complicated tabulation processes, and we're supposed to completely trust the results no matter what. Well, the issue I see is that when you're doing this kind of voting, inevitably ballots end up trashed or eliminated through the multiple rounds. You're always going to have people who choose not to rank candidates. They may, as a protest vote or as a moral conscience vote, only cast a vote for one candidate. And if that one candidate is eliminated as a first choice candidate in one of the first rounds, then that ballot is no longer counted. And so you end up at the end, the results display that there were less votes counted than when there were actually voters casting ballots in the beginning. So the number of voters who voted and the number of ballots counted are significantly different. And there was a New York City Council race where it took 10 rounds of elimination and retallying to determine who won the city council race. And there were something like 650 ballots that ended up being eliminated through those rounds. So 650 less ballots in the final round than there were when people first voted. So it's disenfranchising voters. It's making it difficult for people who have a moral conscience to vote their conscience, because they're kind of put in a place where if I want my vote to count, I guess I have to vote for candidates I would under normal circumstances never vote for if my life depended on it. And we also have serious issues with auditing the vote. I mean, imagine trying to do a hand count to verify that what the machine told you is correct. At a Michigan precinct, just your regular polling location down at the schoolhouse, it's supposed to be no more than 3,000 total voters are allocated to that polling station. So let's say all 100%, 3,000 ballots are cast. And that's the smallest unit that you can narrow it down to in an election. How are you supposed to hand recount and then do the multiple rounds of elimination and retallying 3,000 ballots, let alone millions, which will be cast in the statewide election? And Rank My Vote would like this to be used for statewide elections as well. That includes governor, attorney general, and secretary of state. I believe also U.S. Congress and U.S. Senate. So this is a very, very serious issue. And we have no recourse if things look like they might not be legitimate results or if we have serious questions.
Yes.
Well, to your point, we have no recourse now. They have not been able to address any of our concerns. And then Benson gets up there and starts with her threat and coercion nonsense, violates campaign finance laws, and then puts everything behind a paywall. I don't see how much more criminal that they could make this. It's like the friggin' mafia running the state.
Yeah. So Donna, you know what's really interesting? So I'm a deputy clerk. Emails we get from Brader and Bourbonnais say, if you give out this QVF data that people are FOIAing or the EPB, you are liable to be opened up for investigation. In other words, we'll come after you. Talk about intimidation and threats. It is bad, but I will say, so we were audited. My little Irving Township in Berry County, we were audited by the state for this November election. Randomly chosen, has nothing to do with Sharon Olson and I, but so they had to do a complete recount for the presidential race. Yeah, so they did their auditors did a complete recount of the presidential race. So imagine how long that would have taken to audit it if it was ranked choice voting. Another thing, in one of the town halls, we voted for the mayor of Candytown. One lady voted for her favorite candy bar all the way across the board, first choice, second choice, third, fourth, fifth. And it basically was a spoiled ballot because it was on our phones, on our NAP, and it would not allow it. Well, what if absentee, all these people do an absentee, they do the same thing. Those are all spoiled. And those down in the AV counting board, none of those ballots could be cured. They're done because people would not know that. They would just be exhausted, those ballots. So it is just bad all the way around.
Let's talk about some more of the people that are attached to this. This was I've got a comment here. Let me see, because I think we need to be balanced here. Okay, I try to be balanced. Let's see. This person says this demonstrates why it kind of works. A tie would be a tie in either RCV or the first past the post. It only works like that if third parties are strong enough. Difficult to predict. Would be easy to audit if they would publish the ballots anonymously, like they should be doing anyway, if they were supposed to be counted in public like they're supposed to. See, there's another point, is that the ballots need to be counted in public. We're supposed to vote in private, count in public. Everything is behind the wall. The machines screw this whole thing up. So point taken there. But I'm glad to talk about all of this, because I personally don't think that they could handle the extra oversight. It's got to be a complete retooling of this system because of how many levels they're cheating on.
Right. One of the biggest problems that we have right out the gate is that our voter rolls are massively inflated. So it is known, and it has been known for years, that Michigan has almost 1 million more voters on the rolls than people of voting age who actually reside in the state. And a lot of that is because people who have moved out of state are never taken off the rolls. So even if they have been voting actively in other states and they have not been an active voter in ours, that's just, they're not taken off. And so you have almost a slush fund of names of voters that you can use to cast fake votes. If you really wanted to, you could probably get away with it relatively easily, especially if you're using the absentee voter method, where you're just relying on signatures on the ballot applications and the ballots themselves. And of course, in 2020, Jocelyn Benson loosened up those requirements so that the signature verification process was not scrupulous at all. And basically, clerks and election workers were told to accept them even if the signatures looked wildly different from the voter signature on file. So we have this issue with the voter rolls not being clean. There's also something that's going to add to this problem, which is that starting in June, there's a Michigan state election law that was passed by the old Democrat majority. And essentially what it does is it mandates all state agencies that collect the kind of information you would need on a voter registration form. So let's say you're just somebody going to like Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment, whatever it might be. You're submitting your first and last name, birth date, address, let's say either a driver's license number or a last 4 digits of your social security. Those state agencies are mandated to register you to vote based on that information without you ever saying that you want it to be, without you even knowing about it. Then they will alert you and say, hey, you have been registered to vote by us without your knowledge or consent. And the only way to get that negated is if you actively mail them a postcard saying, please remove me from the voter rolls, or send them information that proves you are not a citizen. And what's even more eerie is that in the language of it, it says if you are not a citizen and you are registered to vote by a state agent, and you do end up casting a ballot in an election, you will be supposed to have not had any foreknowledge that what you did was illegal. So you really won't be punished for committing that crime. And so we're basically giving carte blanche to people who are, even if they aren't just undocumented. So of course we have plenty of undocumented people in the US, the illegal migrants are here, but you also have people who are, let's say, resident aliens. They're not US citizens, or they're waiting to get their citizenship, but they're not yet citizens. They will be registered to vote by these state agencies and then informed that they have been registered to vote. And they might look at that voter registration card that comes up in the mail and go, well, I didn't choose this, but it happened. So I might as well use the opportunity to do what I want to do.
Not my fault.
Yeah. So we're just, and it's going to also add to the number of duplicate registrations. So we have a problem with the same person, same name, same address, same birth date, having multiple voter ID numbers because of being registered to vote at different places and different times. And so I foresee that this will exponentially increase the number of duplicate registrations we have for individuals. So one person may have multiple voter ID numbers and they may not even know that, but you know who will? Bad actors who have access to the voter rolls, like Rock the Vote and others who have been given access to the voter rolls, who can then exploit
Eric?
that and use those extra voter ID numbers for those real people to cast fake ballots in their name.
Or let's just pull up the kingpin here, Jonathan Brader, who was chairman of the board of directors for Eric. I'm sorry, I'm not giving anybody a pass. We literally have people within our state who, oh, I don't know, can do all sorts of crazy stuff without any accountability.
Donna, Eric dumped names into my township's QVF. Eric.
Thank you, Jonathan Brader. You're just
That
so
was the
inspiring.
That was the source. And when we brought it up, we asked the Bureau, why is Eric putting names in our QVF? Suddenly those names now have a different source code of who made that entry. It's gone. Did you hear that yesterday they approved the wording for the ballot initiative? Citizens only can vote, must show ID. So that is great news, something coming up you may want to talk about too on one day. But Jonathan Brader sat there and I got up and gave my opinion to the State Board of Canvassers, and he just quickly made all these notes, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm outed. But was
he twisting in his chair like a fourth grader on Red Bull? That's usually what he does.
Yep. He can't make eye contact. Well, and I'll tell you about these voter IDs, to Jackie's point. If you FOIA the Secretary of State, Bureau of Elections for, say, the qualified voter file for your township, and you FOIA your local clerk for the same list, not one voter ID will match between the Bureau and the local clerk. They're just completely different voter IDs. So we need so much work.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's such a sad situation. They're not listening to we the people at all. They seem like they have no accountability, and there is so many ways that they are cheating in this that it really just defies explanation. But I really appreciate what you guys are doing. This is just amazing. And one thing that was brought up to me a while back is how many clerks quit right after the 2022 election.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount. When I talked to the clerk here in my local township, there was no two ways about it. They were told to destroy information on what happened on the election. They were told, and it came from the state. We hear this over and over again, that the state is telling us what to do. This is what they say. We follow the directions from the state. No, guys, this is literally an act of treason against the United States.
It is a felony. When I FOIA, I would like electronic poll book data from this election. Clerks are responding. We deleted it per the instruction from Brader and Lori Bourbonnais, and then their attorneys, they're sending it to their law firms. They are denying me, saying, nope, they were told to delete it. That is a felony. All we need is one clerk to turn around and sue the Bureau of Elections and say, I deleted it. I was told to delete it and sue them, but, we're struggling. We can't find anyone to do that. But bye, Jacky.
See if she comes back on again. Sometimes people will drop off for whatever reason. Hopefully she'll be back. So
she is wonderful. She is absolutely wonderful. So I appreciate you letting us share ranked choice voting today.
Yeah. Is Jacky going to come back on, or is she, do you know?
I don't know.
Let's see. I'll see if I can text her a minute. Dun, dun, dun. Hang on a minute. Let's see if we can get her to join in a minute for some last words and such. But this is a really good thing to talk about, in my opinion. We have to talk about all of these little initiatives that come up. People think it's a great idea. The 1963 Constitution was never properly installed. That's even an illegal constitution. They didn't have the amount of people. They haven't had them on any of the initiatives or the proposals that were on in the last election, that was even done illegally. They didn't do it correctly.
Right.
We are not getting to the bottom of the conflict or the bottom of the problems. But okay, she's trying to get back on right now. Good. Because
Yeah, we tried to overturn that. You were part of the CCLMV that tried to overturn Prop 2 with us, the citizens, and yeah, that was bad. You know, anyway, just there's so many things we could talk about. So I do want to let you know that one day I'd like to talk to you about a clerk advocate program in the state of Michigan that I am leading to put together just, you know, way to stand up for our clerks, help say, you know, maybe this is the law. These are the instructions you're being given. Please think about this, or whatever help they may need. This advocate program, I'm hoping can really help, because there are a lot of vacancy in clerk spots because they're overwhelmed, they're undertrained, they're trained poorly. And yeah, they could use some help.
Hey, glad you're able to come back on, Jackie. So yeah, I think your phone is muted. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yep.
We got you.
Okay.
So, and you guys are working with some amazing, and I mean truly amazing people like Stephanie Belting. I love Stephanie. I think she is an amazing patriot.
Yes.
All of the people that have worked with Locus Standi, as well as some of the other things that are out there. I got to tell you, I have so much respect for everyone. Talk about unsung heroes. We should get every single one of these people on the show as an ability to have them tell their story, because the story needs to be told.
Yeah. You hit brick wall after brick wall. You know, I filed a criminal complaint for someone deleting EPB data. County prosecutor sent it to the AG, and there it has sat for almost 2 years. They're not going to do anything. Our Secretary of State told them to delete it. So you hit these brick walls and you get discouraged, you know, Donna. But like you and like Jackie, you just keep trying, because you chip away at it and something will work.
Yeah, and I think that unrelenting devotion towards righting what's wrong, and that really doesn't have an end game. You know, you talk to people that have been in the military, they never, once a Marine, always a Marine. They never really quit that oath of office, and every single one of us should be taking an oath to the Constitution, to the United States of America, not to political parties, because they can be compromised, not to organizations, not to necessarily people. It's the Constitution. If we need to be able to critically think, in my opinion, to look at things both as face value, but question them and how we got there to the headlines that are out there. Your points of how many ways this is broken is just beautiful. What other things would you like to talk about today? Because this is your time. I'm just here to give you a voice and maybe, you know, maybe put some color commentary in on this, that, you know, to what we've been working on.
Well, if I could just address ranked choice voting for a moment, I have some serious concerns with how that would impact grassroots candidates, because there are districts in which grassroots candidates can absolutely win. The anti-establishment candidates can absolutely win. But I think by utilizing ranked choice voting, an establishment candidate can ally itself with the establishment candidate of a different party. And so those two will end up running together against the grassroots patriot. And the reason why, of course, as we know, is, I mean, and I'm speaking in my opinion, but this is based on my own experience, is that we have what I call the Rhino Dem cartel, or the Uniparty. The establishment in both major political parties actually are aligned on more than they disagree on. They basically disagree publicly on, like, let's say, gun rights, welfare, and abortion. And other than that, they agree on just about everything else behind closed doors. And so they would prefer to have either one of them win over anybody who could upset the apple cart. So in a ranked choice voting situation, as we saw in Alaska, for example, where Kelly Tshibaka, she was the U.S. Senate candidate who was Trump endorsed. Then you had Lisa Murkowski, who is definitely an extremely, extremely moderate conservative. If she's really even conservative at all, I'd consider her more of a liberal Republican. And then there was the Democrat. We all know that Alaska is a very Republican state, a very conservative state. But with ranked choice voting, the Democrats who voted for the Democrat candidate had Lisa Murkowski as their second choice. And so when the Democrat candidate was eliminated, and you go into round two of voting and counting all of the Democrats' votes, Then the second choice being for Lisa Murkowski, retaliate all of those ballots, and she ended up taking out the Trump endorsed candidate. So that is a way that the establishment can leverage its power to take out somebody who will not necessarily toe the line.
Yeah, I think we need to really question this massively. Can you talk about more of the things having to do with ranked choice voting that maybe people wouldn't know?
I have one thing real quick that concerns me. I believe it might promote dishonesty because a candidate is going to want to garner those second and third choice votes. They may not campaign on what they truly believe in order to get more people to like them. And so then they get in office and then their real agenda comes in. So this grassroots term, it used to mean, in my opinion, Republican up and coming. I don't know. Rank My Vote is calling themselves grassroots. And so maybe every party has grassroots. I'm not really sure, but I do really worry about candidates not being honest on the campaign trail in order to get more second, third, fourth choice votes.
What we're going to say to that, Jackie?
Well, I just want to add that it's going to lead to jungle primaries, and essentially opposing parties are going to control whatever candidate represents the most popular party in the district. And so I foresee that if this is implemented, we'll see districts that normally go very red, very conservative, will suddenly have either moderate or perhaps even Democrat to liberal to progressive candidates representing those districts. So really what you're saying is that the majority of the population is not actually going to have a say, because if it were a majority rules, if it were a true democracy, you would look at the number of, quote, first choice votes, and that person would win. And that is what we have ostensibly now, is whoever gets the most votes wins. But when you do this elimination and recalculation, you're inevitably going to have a smaller minority in the district trumping the majority. So you're taking away the democratic process, the ability for the people to select their representatives. So I think that this is an actual danger to the democratic process. If we say that we're a Republican, we want representative government, all of a sudden the majority of voters are going to find themselves disenfranchised by this process and getting candidates that they feel do not actually represent them at all.
I want to show you something that seemed pretty noteworthy for me too, because I believe that a lot of political operatives are actually running these initiatives. Look at, here we go. It's in a PO box in Lansing. Why is it in Lansing if this is a grassroots push? There's my little thing. Who's actually running this?
Yeah, they have a lot of money coming in from Fair Vote Action. Fair Vote is a left-wing elections think tank group, nonprofit organization, gets donations from George Soros-linked foundations and organizations. They push for things like lowering the voting age to 16, for example, which obviously the founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves if they found out that we were lowering the voting age to 16. I mean, no offense to 16-year-olds. I'm sure there are plenty of intelligent ones, but when it comes to wisdom and who should be in charge of our government, they're not even legal adults yet. Like, if you can't be drafted and go to war, I don't think you should be voting. But so yeah, that's just one of the many things that they support that would be really dangerous. Another thing is universal voting rights, universal voter registration rights. I suspect that that's just a euphemism for allowing non-citizens to vote.
I think you're probably right.
So Donna and Jackie, so regarding one person, one vote, right? I look at it differently than how they market it. So I rank my top 5 candy bars. Okay. And my top one happened to be exhausted, meaning it lost in the first round. So now my second choice vote will go on your tally board. Isn't that 2 votes, 1 person? They say no, because your first choice didn't make it. So it was exhausted. It was thrown out. Well, exactly. But it still played a role in that first round. And now you're going to go to my second choice. Oops, it's exhausted. Now you're going to go to my third choice. It's no longer 1 person, 1 vote.
That is really significant. That's a constitutional issue right there. It's in
Yeah.
conflict. That is absolutely in conflict. No
Yeah.
matter what you think, no matter what anybody thinks, we have to follow the law.
Right.
I also think that this hinders the ability to get timely election results because, again, if you look back on the New York City Council race taking 10 rounds, I mean, we already have a problem right now with the delays in finding out the results of the election. I could go back to 2020 and 2022 and 2024 and how in the middle of the night ballots show up and, oh, we don't know the final count yet. You'll have to wait until the next morning. We're still counting the votes as they're rolling in. You're just by delaying the final results, you are opening the doors for people to manipulate the results because they can say, all right, the candidate that we want is down by X number of ballots. Let's see how we can shift the votes around to get the guy we want to win on top. So you're just making it even more rife for fraud. And there's something that I want to bring up that has always been concerning to me, which is that in the state of Michigan, it is written into election law that only a clerk and deputy clerk need be present in order to count the votes. And here's why that's concerning to me. And I don't believe, far be it from me to believe that clerks are, doing this in large numbers. But certainly if you have a corrupt clerk and a corrupt deputy clerk, this could potentially happen. You have the polls shut down. You have the absentee ballots all counted. You have the final statement of votes, but you haven't yet reported to the county and to the state. You look at the list of voters who either never turned in their absentee ballots or did not show up to vote on election day. You use those names of those people and you go in the back room and you grab the ballots, you fill them out for the candidate you want to win. You mark in the qualified voter file or in the electronic poll book that those voters did in fact vote and assign the ballot numbers to those voters and then just run the ballots through the tabulator. And then you can release at that time the results to the county and to the state, and it'll be the results that you as the corrupt person counting the votes wanted. So we already have gaping holes in the election process as it stands. And that's why I tell people who want to be poll challengers or poll workers that are concerned about the results, I tell them you have the right to take a photo or a copy of the final statement of votes. So if you're working an absentee ballot counting board and you finish counting and you have the results and you're closing up for the night and the clerk's telling you to leave, do not leave until you have either a copy of that final statement of votes or you have a photograph of it. Because if what is reported to the county and the state differs from what you have in your possession and there's a time delay, right? Let's say there's 2 hours, 3 hours between when you closed down and got those final results and when the results are reported to the county and state. And you can say, hey, something happened here. The count should have been this. The count was this when it closed and we got done. But now the township or the city is reporting those as the results. So there needs to be an investigation. And I think the other problem is that even when there have been massive amounts of ballots that are unaccounted for, like I believe in this past election in 2024 in the city of Warren, there was something like 33,000 votes that could not be accounted for. There were 33,000 ballots that did not have voters to match them. Where did those 33,000 ballots come from? Was it that they were just shoved through at the last second to tip the scales in favor of a certain candidate? Or did suddenly voters disappear from the voter rolls? Like, what happened there? When we called for an investigation, we were told that there simply wasn't enough time. It was going to cost a lot of money, and that there's a small window in which you have to certify the election results. And if you don't, you could be held criminally liable for not doing so within that time frame. And the Secretary of State will just override you and do it anyway. So what recourse do we now have? Even in elections where we don't have ranked choice voting, it's just the normal voting method. What recourse do we have for preventing fraud from getting certified as the official election results?
Well, and the canvassers can no longer call to investigate fraud. They are simply certifying the election, do the tapes match the paperwork. That's it. So if there's anything suspicious, that they're not allowed to ask, or they are being threatened that they'll be prosecuted. Just certify it. Certify it and shut up.
So who would you say? Okay, so let's pose some questions out here a minute. Who would you say is the top dog? Well, I know who the top dog is. That is the most responsible for this maladministration.
I mean, my immediate thought is Jocelyn Benson's the one running things, but she's only pushing an agenda that she's likely getting told to push. She's probably beholden to people who funded her campaign to get her into the Secretary of State's office, so she would run things in this manner. So we would need to look at who were her campaign donors, her major donors, who were her campaign advisors, who groomed her and trained her to be this way. What is her background? Where did she come from? A lot of these candidates who we would look at and go, I have no idea who Jocelyn Benson was before she was Secretary of State. How did she get to that level? A lot of people would say, did she go through some kind of candidate training and grooming process? Because we know that's how candidates like AOC got elected. They literally audition for the role of candidate for Congress, and then they get approved by these left-wing activist groups who then supply them with all the resources they need to win. So it's very mysterious, and there's a lot of secret pulling of strings behind the curtain, and our candidates are often total facades. They're not real. They're just mouthpieces for bad actors who want to manipulate the system in a way that benefits them personally.
So Donna, it is far bigger than Benson, even Whitmer. You look at the Dominion emails that Sheriff Darleaf released on X. This is worldwide. This is other countries running our elections and telling our people what to do. So there's no one person in our state or even in the United States, I think, doing this. Those emails alone from Dominion tell exactly Siberia, China, I mean, all the countries involved in this. It's pretty telling. So they're puppets and being told what to do. And
yeah,
I guess we start with the littles. Yeah.
Foreign governments for sure, globalist billionaires who have a vested interest in maintaining control over the global economy and instituting globalist policies that are not good for individual citizens of a sovereign nation. Those are the kinds of people who benefit from this, and that's why they want to control elections. And it has geopolitical implications, because if you're controlled, if your elections are controlled by a foreign government who has a vested interest in your nation going to war on their behalf or being strategic trade partners with them, it basically is other governments raping your country for their own benefit. And the sovereign citizens of the United States don't have control over the government that our forefathers set up so that we could have control over it, so that we could have our destiny and our nation and our people and our land in our own hands. That was the whole point of the American way of governance. The Constitution was written for a certain way of doing things so that we could have the most freedom. And we're not free if we're being controlled by foreign governments and globalist billionaires who want to push agendas that benefit them and not us.
Right. And you can really see that through the money, the flow of money in candidates, as well as one thing that really stuck in my head that you said earlier is the 1 million voters that are on the voter rolls that that exceed the voting population. That's about 10% of the total population of Michigan. That doesn't even include the voting population. The percentage is much higher than that.
You know something strange. So the 2020 election, the November, every month after that, Tim Veteran and Fani, they would FOIA the EPB data from the Secretary of State, how many voted. Every month they did. And every month that number of voters increased on who voted in November 2020. It's still increasing. How does that change? Who voted. And so there's a lot of manipulation going on. But you know what? I've heard this for 4.5 years. Oh, things are happening. It's just hang in there. I truly believe now things are starting to happen. And I have to have faith in that, that there are people in place actually listening to us and doing things. Well, look at the executive order that came out from President Trump, and Michigan Fair Election had a huge part in that. In a report that they submitted was taken directly to the president. And you can see in the EO that many of their points were taken, correct, Jacky?
Yeah, it was done something that was submitted by MFEI to the executive, the Oval Office. There was an analysis done on the executive order versus what we submitted, and there was significant chunks of what we submitted that were included in the executive order. So it seems like it is very likely that we did have significant impact on that executive order. And I do have hope with things like the SAVE Act making its way through Congress. It was passed by the House. It's doubtful that it will pass the U.S. Senate, unfortunately. So I think the new move is they're going to try to squeeze it into some kind of either like a funding package or some kind of rules package, something like this. That's how politics works, unfortunately, that you have to hide good laws amongst a bunch of crappy laws in order for it to get passed, because Congress people are more likely to pass the crappy laws than they are to pass the good laws. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's corruption at the highest level. And unfortunately, it often feels discouraging, like we the people don't seem to be able to get a grasp on who's representing us, because so much money comes in. And I know Donna can speak to this. When she ran for governor, they will do everything they can to tank your campaign if you're a strong candidate. When I myself ran for office in 2022, I was Trump endorsed. In Trump's endorsement of me, he said in that endorsement, she's going to open the Warner Norcross files and finish doing the full investigation into the 2020 election, where all of the evidence of fraud was hidden by the state legislature. And lo and behold, Betsy DeVos and her ilk spent something like $650,000 in my state rep primary to defeat me. That's the level of money you're up against, just because you're calling a spade and saying, hey, that election was not legit and we need to look into it. They will try to destroy you.
We actually found somebody that allegedly paid $5.5 million to tank my campaign. There's all of these things that are going to come out because I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody just skates in with all kinds of money that is backing them, like I had nobody backing me. You know, I had small donations from my, I'm not going to say nobody, but I had the real people backing me. But I didn't take any PAC money or dark money. The Republican Party was the one that put Wretched Whitmer in place. It was the oligarchs playing together. Betsy DeVos tanked Tudor Dixon's little puppet that they pulled all of the money right after she won the primary. That's a globalist puppet sitting there right there. If you don't believe me, I can't help the cognitive dissonance at this point with these people. And then she had a secret meeting and started Republicans for Whitmer. They put Whitmer, the Republican Party, put Whitmer in. And if you think that they're not going to do it again, they're going to do it again, because they're controlled by the globalist money. It's all the money stuff. So there is a lot that we have dug up on what happened, what happened to me. And there's a lot of people that understand that all the signature stuff, it was absolutely to get rid of Donna Brandenburg. And they had to make it look like they weren't picking on me. But I'm going to go back and say this forward. And I had somebody within the AG's office tell me that. This isn't my opinion. That was an opinion of several people that literally said that, because I wasn't able to, they weren't able to compromise me or pay me off, because I don't like money. I don't even like it. Okay. It makes people supremely stupid, but it does. People get stupid when they get around money every time. It's amazing, because of the dragon's treasure. They seek the dragon's treasure rather than the true treasure that comes from God Almighty. The true treasure is about doing the right thing, serving God, serving him here on this planet, serving each other, even the people we disagree with. It's not just about people who want to be in our club. I love it when people argue with me. I think it's great. That's the person I want to listen to, not the person that's telling me everything they think I want to hear, because those people are just flattering. They're manipulators. They have no interest in anything other than trying to give you a little treat. Let's give you a dog treat. See if you'll jump at it. And it's not okay. So to your point, Jackie, this whole thing is so rigged. The entire system, no matter what we do, rank choice up, rank choice down, whatever, look at the amount of cheating going on. And until we hold these people accountable, we're dead in the water.
Yeah, people need to go to jail. There's so many things that Jocelyn Benson has done that indicate that she needed to have been not only investigated by the AG's office, but drawn up on charges. And I think the failure of Dana Nessel to do her duty as the Attorney General, to actually take her to court and say, hey, you broke the law, and prosecute, I think it shows that it's just more evidence that there is absolutely collusion behind the scenes. And I think that it's my opinion that Dana Nessel probably has violated plenty of different attorney codes of ethics, and probably she should probably get charged herself. And again, that's my opinion. I'm speaking on my own knowledge and my own beliefs, but there's just so much corruption, but nobody seems to be held accountable. And until
I heard in an audio tape them the AG's office court shopping against Stephanie Lambert. So it's they are definitely breaking laws left and right, but who's going to hold them accountable?
Maybe
Someone will now.
Brandenburg will. Let's just see. Sometimes we need to do the job before we get into office there. Let's go. Just say it right there. I don't think you need to have an office to hold people accountable. And I did give everybody fair warning. I'm like, you probably should hope that I get in rather than having me on the outside, because on the outside I got all kinds of time to screw with you. Say what needs to be said. It's not my opinion. It's the fact that every one of these people needs to be brought up on charges of treason. Yep. And they have committed treason. It's not just maladministration. It's not just a felony. They have literally committed treason within our borders against we the people.
Right.
I'm going to say it. Go ahead.
I'll say it. I'll say it too.
Come after me, guys. Make my day. Make this an easy thing to get things on the record for what you've done. I would love to have an open mic in a courtroom. Well, I did that. I did that about 6 months ago, where I actually put the judge as well as the attorneys kind of on notice. I'm like, I'm not talking to any of you people in this courtroom right now. I'm talking on the record, and I'm going to talk until I'm done talking. And you're not going to tell me not to talk, because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the record. So, I mean,
bring it on.
Bring it on. Let's do this thing. I'm going to say what, but I think that you look at the people that are controlling this. They think they're little kings and queens sitting there, and that we're their little children to pat us on the head, put our mittens on us. Go out, play, kids. We'll take care of this. How many people, realistically, could look at this absurdity in Michigan, how Michigan is run, and this includes the entire legislature, because every one of them is guilty of the same thing, that pointing to the top, going right down to the clerks. If you do not stand against it, you're standing with them. I'm sorry. I don't care what people say. Tell me how they're going to virtue signal me that they're doing the right thing. They are all part of it. If you do not stand up to the clerks that quit, if you do not stand up and you saw the crime, you're guilty.
Yeah, exactly. To the clerks, and I love them. They're trying so hard. You allow things to happen, you are guilty. And exactly. And them, they'll just remove you. That's okay. You know, Stephanie Scott, Adams Township, the two guys up north, Secretary of State will just remove you. But you know what? Do the right thing. Don't be afraid. Do the right thing.
Yeah. If you tell the truth, if you have the truth, you will find protection that you cannot imagine. And that protection comes from God Almighty. He'll open doors that you never thought would open. He'll close doors that you needed to stay out of. He will literally make your path straight. But it's only if you have faith in God to tell the truth under all circumstances and live for God to take care of his creation, not just the people that are in our club. It's God's world, and we're Americans first. We're not Republicans or Democrats. I mean, I have called them out on this, and I'm going to stand strong on this. The Republican Party and the Democrat parties are a threat to the United States of America, because they are being funded by foreign money as well as domestic money. They have taken money. And I'm going to tell you what, the candidate that runs the candidate that decides to stand on principle and not take donations is the ones I would vote for, is the one I would vote for. Yep. Not the ones that are on these donations. I would not be looking at the donations they bring in and say, oh, look at the great donations they bring in. Are you kidding me? To enrich the establishment, That's where they trade the money back and forth. You are looking at a crime before your face that they have programmed us to think is the only way to win. The only way to win this is to get off their little hamster wheel of insanity. Think about things ourselves and say, you know what? If I'm the only one doing the right thing, I'm going to vote for the person who's going to defend us, not the person that's in with a military industrial complex in a karetsu, a supply chain person. I'm not going to vote for that person. I don't care what virtue signaling. I don't care what that person's flown or what they've done. If you're voting for the money and saying this is a great candidate because you know what, Agnes, they've raised a whole lot of money for the Republican Party. I think this is a great person.
Yeah, we got to get out of that thinking. We got to get out of the thinking of like, I'm team red, I'm team blue. It's I'm team America. I'm team red, white, and blue. And I want the
team
American
Constitution. Yeah.
Right there. Team red, white, and blue. Team, if you're living and breathing, a red-blooded American, that's all I care about. And I'm pretty much extra sure that all of us bleed red. And so that's not red as the Republican Party. That's humanity. This is God's world that he created. We are his children first. God's children. And I don't care what somebody aligns with or thinks that they are. It's just a subgroup to get extra money through the pity vote. I don't care what it is, and this is that I got asked, and I actually love this story because I have a lot of friends who are gay and lesbian because Jesus sat with anybody. So I will too. And I will not be coerced into not doing said activity. Right. And it's like, I get asked this all the time. It's like, so what do you think about gay marriage? And they always stick their chin out like Obama, right? And when they say it, it's like this act of defiance. They'll say, what do you think about gay marriage? And I'm like, I'll tell them, I think it's a stupid question, and I'm insulted that you would even dare to ask me such a dumb question. So let me give you the question to ask, because it's a dumb question. So we need to educate a better question, right? The question isn't, what do you think about gay marriage? It's, why is the government in marriage at all? Why have they taken on all of these social justice things in order to divide us? Why are they funding these woke agendas? It's not the people they're funding. They have stolen their identity, and they've tried to make it all about the money. And I'm like, the only reason why the government is in money at all is because they expect you to sign the contract with them, the marriage license with them, so that they can take your money, take your possessions, take your children, because they're going to bet you're going to fail. And they're going to put all of these agendas in place in order to take everything you have, whether you're straight or gay. They've made it about the money. I don't care. It's like, get them out of our lives, period. And we've got the problem solved. And I'm an unapologetic Christian. I'm going to tell you that right now. But standing on the structure of the government that has hijacked everything we love, you got to go down with the base level and look at what the structure is wrong. I would take a wager to say that the people that are out there with the gay pride flags and such, I would say that the majority of them aren't even gay. They're paid provocateurs.
Yeah.
So,
that is true. A lot of the left-wing agitators are busted and paid for, and they go through professional agitation and professional protester training that's sponsored by these NGOs. It's all astroturfed for the most part. I mean, you're always going to find people who are sincere believers in the cause, sincere crusaders, but a lot of the ones who show up to demonstrate, they're trained activists.
Right. Yes. So the point being is that all of this stuff that's nonsense needs to go back to a basis of God-given rights, the Constitution, and very simply get them out of our lives, because this is all about the money. So anyhow, any candidates that want to run, get a hold of me, because the point being is that if you're not basing it on money, if you're not taking donations from the PACs or from the dark money, I'm your girl right there. I could work with anybody at that point in time that is willing to stand on the basis of America. I'm your girl. Stand for God.
Go Jacky. Go Jacky.
Go Jacky. Go Jacky.
I'll send people your way. When I find people who I know are sincere patriots who are not willing to play the swamp game, I'll send them your way, Donna. I can already think of a handful.
Maybe go Donna, go Donna.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
We'll see how this goes. Well, this was a great start for our first show. Shelly and I have been talking about today about having you come on and bring people on talking about the real issues in our elections. And I think it's a great thing. So if we can do this on a regular basis, if you want to do 10 o'clock on Mondays, I'm in town and out of town. So sometimes I have to, based on where I am, sometimes I can't do shows at times, but if you want to plan on Mondays at 10 o'clock, if I'm on, you can have that time and bring everybody on from Locus Standi and all the people that are around. I love you guys. I think you guys are fabulous. And I want to work to help you get your voices out there and talk about every cockroach ridden corner of our election systems that we have out there. And maybe I'll just be able to put my latest lawsuit out there and you guys are going to be going, yay.
Oh, yeah.
Please
yeah.
Bring on the lawsuits. They use lawfare against us. It's time for us to use lawfare against them. Just use their playbook against them.
I've won 3, so yeah, we just keep doing it, right? Yeah, I can't wait to have Bill Knoll on to talk to you about kidnapping.
Yeah, let's bring everybody on. Let's talk about this and stand together. And I'm going to tell you what, we have to support people, not parties. That's part of the programming, and break that and think this is something we need to talk about too. I'd like everybody out there to think about how we can help other people to break that programming. You know, it was the political parties that took down Nazi Germany. You might want to remember that because kind of like history repeats itself kind of stuff. So why don't we say last words, and then I'd like to go to prayer. I always end with prayer, and then we'll go to our day. What last words would you like to say? And then Jacky, would you like to pray for us today?
Sure, absolutely. I know that my last words would just be, if people are interested in helping to stop ranked choice voting, they can email me, Jacky at mifairelections.org, and I'll get them plugged into their chapter. We're launching chapters throughout the state, local hubs that are taking on ranked choice voting.
Jacky at what? Was it Jacky at?
Yep, Jacky at mifairelections.org.
Yep. And they can also go to Michigan Fair Elections website, and there's a volunteer form there in case they didn't get the email. Feel free to contact me, or I'm the Berry County chapter leader, and then the new clerk advocate program for the state. I'm working with Jacky and Patrice and others closely on that. So we need help everywhere. Please sign up as little or as much as you can do.
Okay, here we go. And I'm going to add this as a banner. I have skills. I have a new tool.
You have mad skills.
I have mad skills. Let's go ahead and do this. Ta-da!
Oh, can you throw mine in there too? Shelly Lake 13 at Gmail. I don't have my MFE one yet.
Okay, hang on a minute. I wonder if I can roll 2 of them.
Look at that scrolling through. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. So let me try another one here, and I will. Let's see. I'm going to do it. So. I think I have to do the whole thing over again.
Oh,
I have to see if I can.
Jacky, I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for coming on and all of your leadership help at Michigan Fair Elections. You are a true patriot. You are a fighter.
Is it S on your say it, spell it for MichiganFairElections.org or elections?
Yes, elections with an S.
Okay, then I got it wrong last time, so that was good. And what was your Shelly?
Shelly Lake 13 at Gmail.
Okay. See, now everybody knows I don't multitask well. So let's see. MichiganFairElections.org and Michigan MIFairElections.org. All right, let's see. Ta-da! And here we go. Mad skills.
Awesome. Love it.
So I'll put that up for a little bit while you're praying, okay?
Yeah, and it is gmail.com, but don't worry about that. People will find that out.
Oh, I screwed that up.
Don't worry about it.
All right, hang on a minute. I'm gonna get this right.
Don't worry. And thank you for praying, Jacky. I was going to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm Catholic. You guys don't have to do the sign of the cross. I just always start with it. It's habit. So, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Father God, I am so grateful that you gave us all the gift of living in the United States of America, which is the best country on earth, and we live in one of the greatest times to be alive. There's lots of fights. Please continue to bless us as we fight the good fight. Please use your Holy Spirit to guide us so that we always act with integrity and courage, and speak nothing but the truth, that we pursue your justice with a heart full of love, and that you guard us from the slings and the arrows of the evil one. Hold us in the palm of your hand so that we may never face defeat, but only victory through your Son, Jesus Christ. In his name, amen.
Amen.
God.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being on. This is wonderful. And I really loved, I'm looking forward to doing this. And so everybody in Locus Standi out there say, yay, do the happy dance. And you know what's really helpful is if everybody posts and reposts the links to these things, because they have so censored everything that I've done, that you guys have done. We cannot get this out there unless we become the news for each other and help break the programming of other people. You're never going to have good candidates, because they're just going to show you who they want you to vote for, give you a choice for who they want you to vote for, and then rig the whole thing until they're in office where they're just playing with the little puppets. That's it.
Right.
We got to take this back. We got to do it together. So anyhow,
well, thank you.
Part of the show, boys and girls. Ding, 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 ding. My 2022 protest. Please go to brandenburgforgovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to talk to the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this wearing cowboy boots. Who wears them better? It'll be me. But the discussion is what's going to be important. So
thank you.
Yeah, you guys have a great day today. And everybody out there, stay on the line when I end this, and we'll talk for just a minute. Everybody have a great day today. You know what? No matter what we see, when we focus on God, we can walk right through the middle of conflict and a storm. Doesn't matter. God will keep us safe. He'll give us not a reprobate mind, but true discernment. True discernment, and have your true north going on all the time. No matter what goes on around you. You know what? You walk right across that water just like Jesus did. You walk right on over the top of hell. Take this thing back. Don't be afraid. Don't let people tell you what you have to put up with when it's completely a bunch of lies. We don't have to do this. And you know what? Focus on the people around you. Let's stay away from the fireflies that they got popping around us all the time, trying to distract us. How's your family doing? How's the people in your community doing? Are you talking to them? Are you out there making a difference in people's lives? You know what? That's real easy. Go out with a smile on your face. Make sure that they know you're not afraid, and do what needs to be done. And with that said, God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it that day today. And I will see you tomorrow with John Tater. Today's going to be a fun day, because guess what? I'm working on another lawsuit. Guess you're not going to hear that anymore. You're going to hear it here, and we'll talk to you. We'll see you again tomorrow.